Well, not only that, but the time is wrong. You're on time. The time made a mistake. I didn't, as we see, some of the people who are here Monday night, so I can't repeat the same thing. That makes it more difficult. And I was actually thinking that maybe some of the people will come back. So we actually learned something maybe new, a little bit different, but it's going to be part of what we learned last week. I mean, not last week, last Monday night. Actually, this week's portion, one of the things that talks about is about the war that the Jews had against Midian. Midian was a nation, and also Moab, both. That they knew the Jews are coming to the land of Israel, and whatever they're going to start up with them, they didn't like it. So they came with a plan to do something that the Jews will be defeated. They knew that, God doesn't like not idolatry and not adultery. They knew God doesn't like those two things. God maybe doesn't like many things. He loves a lot of things, whatever, talking in our terms, but he doesn't like adultery and idolatry. So they sent, the most beautiful girls, even very, very high class from, high class people. They came to the Jewish camp. And what they did is, they made like, the way the Matot says it, they made like little tents that they want to sell some stuff. It's like very dramatic the way the Matot makes it. That older women on the outside, and when they came and see what kind of goods they can buy, so a younger girl came from the inner tent and he said, you know what, I have better quality things. So they took the guys into privacy, and then they tempted them to do a sin. But then she said, no, you're not going to do any sin with me unless you're going to worship the idol that I worship. So even at that time, they lost their mind and they actually did worship the idols, and they did the adultery, and 24,000 basically Jews died. So I'm going to skip, the whole thing with, the leader of the tribe of Shimon. But what happens is God tells Moshe, I wanted to go take the revenge of the Jewish people. So I wanted to go to the war and, kill them, whatever, destroy them, because these are the ones that made you sin. So God tells Moshe that you should go to the war. However, Moshe doesn't go. He actually chooses some other people, 1,000 from each tribe, but he himself doesn't go. So what happens is, one of the commentators asks, if God tells Moshe, Vehilachem, you should go to war, why did Moshe think that God doesn't mean him? It means that he should direct it, maybe send people instead of him. So one of the things that the Medrash says, very interesting, it says because Moshe had some, he had to be grateful. He couldn't be ungrateful to the people of Midian. Why did he have to be grateful to them? Because when he ran away from Egypt, where did he run away to? He ran away to the land of Midian. And actually over there, the people of Midian figured out that he's a refugee from Egypt, but they never gave him over to the hands of the Egyptians. The Egyptians were looking for him. Pharaoh wanted to kill him. But they were nice. We're not going to hand you over to the Egyptians. Not only that, he actually found his wife there. You know the story, right? It was by the well, by the water, and then we call it the pit, and then he finds his wife. How come, all our parents found their wives next to a well of water? Yaakov found his wife there. Moshe Rabbeinu found his wife there. So the secret is because when you actually get married, you fall into a pit. No, that's only a joke. The real reason is because Torah is compared to the water. Water resembles Torah. I mean, you should get married in a Torah way. That's when it brings success. But for the ones that don't like to get married, is because you fall into a pit. So watch out. But anyways, he actually, putting all the jokes aside, Moshe Rabbeinu got married in that land. So it says, I have to be grateful to them. How can I go and wage a war against them? So probably God didn't mean that I should go. I have to send somebody else to do it. That's the way, that has Cain. One of the commentators learns that. So one of the things that we learn from here is the concept of being grateful. Even though Moshe didn't get so much benefit from them, they just didn't hand him over to the Egyptians. That's number one. And also he got married. They were nice to him. They didn't harass him. But he had to show his gratitude to the country. So now we're going to actually learn how much gratitude we should have, first of all, towards God, and also towards our parents. We're going to go through it in details. Many times I know our parents say things that maybe makes us not feel too comfortable. As I say, up to today, when my mother calls me, please have some orange juice. Make sure that you have some fruits. A Jewish mother is always a Jewish mother. You could turn 100 and your mom is 120, you're still a baby of your mom and dad. That's the great parents, right? But sometimes we feel that they're too controlling. But we're going to go through this actually, this part of the Torah, to what extent we have to show our gratitude to people or to things that we get our benefits from. Let's start from the beginning, from the lowest level. First of all, we know from the Torah that you have to show gratitude even to things that are dead. I don't mean people. I mean objects that are inanimate. They're not living at all. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. When Moshe Rabbeinu went to the land of Egypt, so God tells him you have to bring the 10 plagues. Moshe is the leader, is supposed to bring the 10 plagues, but the first 3 he doesn't bring. He gives it to Aaron to bring, right? He had to hit the Nile to turn into blood, and he had to hit the dust of Egypt to turn into lice. That's the third one. And then the second one was the frogs, that he hits his stick on the Nile and all the frogs come out. So over there, God tells Moshe, give your stick to the hands of Aaron. Now, what the rest Moshe did? Why the blood and the frogs and the lice, Moshe couldn't do it? So Rashi brings a medrash because Moshe Rabbeinu owed his life to the water and dust of Egypt. When he was a little baby, 3 months old, his mother put him in a basket. He put in a basket right next to the river, next to the Nile River. That's where Pharaoh's daughter found him. So if not for the Nile, he wouldn't have gotten saved. So how could he bring a plague on the water? He couldn't do that because he had to show his gratitude to the water. So it didn't turn into blood and also didn't cause the frogs to come out from there. Also, when there was a Jew being beaten up by that Egyptian, so Moshe Rabbeinu killed him, but he had to hide his body, correct? Because there was no Egyptians there, nobody knew. Later on, when they found out, it's because a Jew went and told Pharaoh that, hey, Moshe Rabbeinu killed one of the Egyptian, supervisors. But nobody really knew. How was Moshe able to hide his death? Because he buried him under the ground right away. And he told his Jewish brothers, the Medrash says, don't tell anybody that I killed the Egyptian. So he was able to hide him through the dust. How could he bring a plague? So for me, the commentators say that you learn that even if something is inanimate and has no feelings, if you're not going to show gratitude, you won't feel bad at all. You have to show your gratitude. A very practical example that they bring in the religious world, if you went to yeshiva, you went to a synagogue, and you had benefit from it, don't go destroy the walls. I mean, even though it doesn't feel anything, right? But you got a benefit from a building, You always feel that, you have people that if they were sick, let's say, God forbid, somebody was sick, and which hospital takes care of, cancer patients? City of Hope. Is that the one? I think so. A lot of them that actually get saved later on, they will actually pay a lot of money to make the hospital better. It's a concept of gratitude. They felt that a hospital actually made them feel better, so they want to help, that it should be able to help more people. So we see gratitude is not only to things that have feelings, even things that don't have feelings, we have to show our gratitude. That's step number one. Only the Torah could say this. We actually find that there's a parable that the rabbis say, if somebody did you a favor, don't hurt him. But use a very interesting language. It says, do not throw a stone in a well that you drank water from. And the commentators explain the statement of the Gemara, if somebody did you a favor, don't stab him in the back. Show gratitude. But why did they actually use, if you drink from a well, don't throw a stone? Because they want to teach you even inanimate things like water, like a well, has no feelings. But show your gratitude to them. That's number one. Number two, what happens if somebody is not intending to do you any good? It just happens that, by the way, you got some benefit. You have to thank him for it. You have to show gratitude. Right? I didn't mean to do you any favor at all. It's just somehow, indirectly, you got a benefit. So we actually have to show gratitude too. This is based on a very interesting story, a very beautiful story. It's not so much known in this way, but there's a medrash we learn from Yosef, right? From Yosef and his brothers. We all know that brothers of Yosef wanted to kill him, right? The father loved him too much. He was like the favorite. By the way, the Gemara says, never favor one child over the other. Very hard to be a parent. And not every kid is exactly the way the parents want. So naturally, we favor the good kid. The kid who's troublemaker, why can't he be like your brother? You know what I'm saying? The Gemara says never do that. Try to deal with each one, in their level. I wish I knew this when I became a father. Now that I'm a grandfather, I hope I know it more. But nobody ever taught us how to be a good father. They just told us, go get married. That's it. That was it. So anyways, the Gemara says never differentiate between them, but Yaakov made that mistake too. So the brothers wanted to kill Yosef. It wasn't only because he was the favorite. They actually felt that Yosef deserves to get killed because he used to say Lashon Hara about the brothers to the father Yaakov. Right? The Torah says that. Anything evil that he found, he went and told his father. So because of that, the brothers said, hey, he's speaking Lashon Hara about us, so he deserves to die because Lashon Hara is like killing someone. So what happens is the brothers sit and they make a court case. When Yosef comes, they say, we're going to kill Yosef. The last minute, the oldest brother changes his mind. None other than Reuven, right? Reuven says, don't kill him. Throw him into the pit. If he deserves to die, he'll die in the pit. But really his intention was to come that evening and save Yosef from the pit. The problem was, by the time he came back, the brothers sold him. But he really intended to save Yosef. Why did he suddenly change his mind? He also thought Yosef has to get killed because he spoke Lashon Hara. So the Rashi says because he was the oldest brother, he knew that they're going to regret it later on and they're going to blame everything on the oldest brother. That's a simple explanation, right? Always the oldest one gets sacrificed. You know, we have no experience in raising kids. So we do all our experiments to the oldest child. It's unfortunate. And you always blame the oldest kid, but that's what Rashi says. The Medrash says something a lot more beautiful. He says Reuven felt that he has to show gratitude to Yosef. Let's see why. It's a long story, but there's Hashem. We're going to make it clear. Please don't be embarrassed to ask questions if I don't explain it clearly. You see, what happens is Reuven, the oldest brother, did something very terrible for his level. You know, Yaakov had 4 wives. Either he was very lucky or unlucky for having 4 wives. Interpret it any way you want. I don't know. He was lucky because God wanted him to get married to 4 wives. But God doesn't want you to get more than 1 wife. So you're not going to be lucky if you get 2. Just stick to the first one, the only one, right? At any rate, so what happens is, obviously Yaakov has 4 wives. One is the most beloved more than the other. Who was the beloved wife of Yaakov? Everybody knows it, right? Rachel. Rachel was the most beloved. So therefore, they all need their privacy. Each woman, each wife has his own room, their own tent. I don't know, wherever they live. So now, where did Yaakov put his bed? Where did he sleep most of the time? Obviously, with the wife that's the most beloved. So his bed was in the tent or in the room of Rachel. Now, Rachel was also the youngest one that died, the earliest, fastest one. So where should his bed go now? He's not going to sleep alone, right? So what does logic tell you? Take it to the second most important wife, which is Leah, right? Leah was the second wife. Yaakov doesn't do that. He takes the bed actually to the tent of his third wife, who originally was the maid of Rachel. Her name was Bilhah, right? So one of the reasons that they give it is because he didn't want to forget Rachel. The simple reason. He was very attached to Rachel and didn't want to forget her. So he went to the tent of the maid. So whenever he saw her, okay, this is the maid of my wife, Rachel. That's a simple explanation. But the truth is, according to the Kabbalah, actually the Medrash says that Yaakov, wasn't like us. The Gemara says that the Shekhinah, God's, this is for the women, please remember this, that the Shekhinah, God's presence, comes to the house for the merit of the wife. That's what it says, honestly. The more, the righteous the woman is, the more kind the lady is, there is more presence of God in the house. Please do not underestimate yourself. Really, women have unbelievable powers. Actually, it says when a woman is a very good lady, all the blessings of the house come because of the woman. Wealth to the husband, health of the husband, healthy children. Honestly, everything depends on the righteousness of the woman. That's the joke that I say. If you guys don't have money, tell the girl the blessing comes because of you. So get married to me, I get rich. I don't know how far it's going to take you, but you could try. Just kidding. But that's the absolute truth. I'm saying there have been couples that they started with nothing, but there was so much love between them that they were successful. They made enough. The kids got married. I'm not kidding. And you have some people that have millions of dollars, but the marriage didn't go good. Everything got destroyed. So actually, when there's peace, so anyways, the woman brings the Shekhinah to the house. So Yaakov, he put his bed in the tent of Rachel, not because Rachel was the most beautiful wife or the most beloved, because he saw that the presence of God comes mainly because of Rachel. When Rachel died, God's presence went to the tent of Bilhah. That's why I put it there. But Reuven, being a very young boy, didn't understand that. Reuven says, hey, my father is not proper. What is this? Till now, my mother, Leah, was the secondary wife. So I thought she's going to become number one. Now she's secondary again. So when nobody was around, Reuven goes and he pulls out his father's bed from Bilhah's tent and he puts it in his mother's tent. So this actually was a disturbance to God's presence. We find a hint in the Torah for that. When Yaakov Avinu was dying and he was blessing his kids, he didn't openly bless Reuven. And he tells him, the reason why I'm not blessing you, because you acted so hastily. So it says, As chilalta yitzui Allah. You were disrespectful to the one who went on my bed. Now, what does that mean? Who went on the bed except Yaakov? You were disrespectful to the one that went to my bed. So the Medrash explains it means God's presence. When you moved my bed, that disturbs God's presence, because that's what God's presence was. So because of that, Reuven thought, I'm messed up. I did a sin. I'm not going to be part of the Jewish people anymore. That's what he thought. Especially that Yosef split into two, right? Go ahead. He was very young. I don't think so. Let me tell you why. Because when Rachel died, Yosef was 8 years old. Reuven was born 6 years earlier. No, maybe 5 years. He maybe just turned bar mitzvah. Maybe. You know, I'm saying 12 or 13, one of those things. But good question. At any rate, so Reuven thought, I'm not going to be part of the Jewish people anymore because I sinned. I'm like the outcast, like Esau. And he had a good reason to believe that. You know, they knew that Yosef is going to, whatever, probably they knew that it's going to split, Ephraim and Manasseh. I'm not sure if they knew that. So he thought he's going to be replaced. So now let's go 9 years later. Now Yosef is 17 years old. That's around the time that they sold him. He had the dreams that 11 stars are bound down to him. What are the 11 stars? His 11 brothers. Right? And then he has another dream that you have this wheat, you're making wheat, and you guys are making bundles. 11 of you bow down to me. Hold on, who are the 11? Reuven is included. So it says, my gosh, in his dream, he's telling me that I'm part of the Jewish people. I'm not an outcast. I'm still part of the 12 brothers. So it says, so how can I kill him? I have to save him. That's what the Medrash says. Now hold on. Let's think for a moment. Why did Yosef say his dreams? To tell Reuven, don't feel bad, you're my brother still. Believe me, he had no such thing in mind. I don't even know if he thought, if he knew that Reuven thinks he's an outcast. He just said it, that he's going to be a great person, he's going to become a king one day. But again, because indirectly he got a benefit, he had to show his gratitude. He said, I'm going to do whatever I can to save him. So from here we learn that gratitude is even if somebody gives us a benefit indirectly, we have to thank him. What if somebody wants to hurt you? And then something good comes up. Legally, I don't know if you have to thank him, but the Medrash says it's a good thing. Imagine your boss fires you. You're very upset at it. So therefore, you have to go find a new job. You have to go to college, get a higher education, and then you actually find a better job because he fired you. You have to thank him or not. I don't mean to thank him in spite. Hey, in your face, you fired me, I got a better job. That's called revenge. I'm saying actually thanking him. There was actually a woman in our community. She was a single mom. The husband passed away. And the daughter was going through, through law school. She was an accountant. And then a new guy buys the firm. And he says, lady, you can't go home Friday afternoon early. You have to work till late in the winter. So she came to me, Rabbi, I have a daughter. Can I work on Shabbat? I said, I can't tell you to work on Shabbat. Of course you can. And if you believe that God sends you a livelihood, you can't work on Shabbat. But I promise you that you're going to find a better job. Believe me, I said it with such fear. I can't promise nothing. Anyways, 3 weeks later, she tells me that she found a job by a religious firm. And they actually give her off on holidays. And she can go home on Friday. And the daughter is married, I think, 5 children? 4 or 5 grandchildren, something like that. So again, I said, you know what? You have to call your original boss and thank him for firing you. You got a better job. I don't know if she did it or not. It's a very tough thing to do. But anyways, where do we learn that from? We learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu too. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he ran away from Egypt, where did he go? He went to Midian, correct? You know that Yitro, his future father-in-law, did not worship idols, so the people excommunicated him. Nobody was allowed to work for him. Who took care of his sheep? His own daughters. Because nobody was allowed to work for him. Like, I wouldn't call them anti-Semites, anti-Yitro. The whole city, they hated him. Go ahead. They didn't mean anything bad, right? Well, they have to apologize to you, but again, you forgive them, and they didn't do it on purpose. But they definitely owe you an apology. The halacha says, if I sneeze in front of you by mistake and you get disgusted, I have to say sorry, even though I didn't do it on purpose. But the fact that I made you feel bad, I have to say sorry to you. Torah is very, very, amazing. So the next thing is, so Moshe Rabbeinu goes there, and these girls are, the daughters of Yitro are taking care of the sheep, and the shepherds bother them because the father doesn't worship idols anymore. So Moshe comes and saves them, right? So usually they had to wait till all the shepherds go home, and then the daughters, when nobody was around to harass them, so then they would take care of the sheep. This time Moshe comes and gets rid of all the other shepherds, takes care of their sheep. They go home very early. So the father says, what happened? He came home early. He says, well, we met an Egyptian guy. He saved us. Now, we all know Moshe wasn't an Egyptian. He was born in Egypt, but he was a Jew. Right? Even if he had Egyptian clothes, and the girls actually thought that he's an Egyptian, why is the Torah telling us everything? The Torah could have said, a man saved us. An Egyptian man saved us. What do you have to call Moshe an Egyptian? It's not a proper thing. So actually, the Medrash says, Moshe told them, thank the Egyptian whom I killed. They came to thank Moshe. Moshe says, don't thank me. I'm here because I killed an Egyptian guy. And the Medrash brings an example that there was a guy that was bitten by an animal. So he goes at a river to wash his wound. And then there was a little boy or little girl drowning. So he saves the kid. The kid says, thank you for saving me. He says, don't thank me. Thank that animal that bit me. If not for his bite, I wouldn't be here. So when they thanked Moshe, Moshe says, don't thank me. You owe the thanks to the Egyptian whom I killed. Because of him, I'm here. Now, obviously, that animal that bites or the Egyptian that got killed, he had no intention to save these girls or to save the boy from the river. His intentions were vicious. But something good came out, so you got to thank them too. Is that clear? Now let's see how important gratitude is. Let me ask you guys, if everybody's Jewish, no question. We're all Jewish. But what sin do you think is there that is going to put a doubt if this person is Jewish or not? What kind of a sin are you going to choose? So saying if they deny God, so basically we're worshiping idols. Go ahead. What? No, I'm talking about an attitude. If they have a certain attitude that, hey, maybe this guy is not Jewish. So he said if he denies God, okay. The Gemara says if somebody worships idols, he's like a good. That's true. But there's another thing that the Gemara said. If somebody has no gratitude, there's a big question if he's Jewish or not. I'm saying never has. I'm not saying that he hates somebody so doesn't want to show gratitude. I'm saying basically if he has no gratitude, it's a question if this guy is Jewish. Judaism is full of, from the moment you get up, modani. When you eat, you have to make a bracha. Honestly, the way we are trained, if somebody's brought up religious, every moment he's thanking God. Modani when you get up, I don't know, every time you do a mitzvah, Baruch Ata Hashem, I bless you God for giving me the merit to do a mitzvah, right? You eat, you make a bracha. You finish eating, make another bracha. You're dead tired, you want to go to bed. Thank you, God, for taking my neshama and giving it back to me tomorrow. Honestly, every moment is gratitude. So how do you know if somebody doesn't have gratitude? There's a question if it's Jewish or not. So the Torah accepts converts from any religion. We don't push for it, but if somebody wants to convert to Judaism in a proper way, no problem. But there is one nation that the Torah says they don't exist anymore because everybody assimilated. If they become a Jew, they're Jewish, but they can't marry a Jewish girl. What? Not Amalek. If Amalek somehow becomes a Jew, could marry a Jewish girl. You're supposed to kill them, but again, if they become a Jew, it's Ammon and Moab, two nations. So the Torah says, why is God picking them, picky on them? They don't do anything wrong, seemingly. So the Torah gives the most weird reason. The Torah says because when Jews left Egypt, They didn't bring us as a gift water and bread. Did any other nation bring us water and bread? No other nations did. Amalek attacked us. So if God is picking on them, why do you pick on them? No other nation brought us water and bread. This is a question that the Ramban asks, the Nachmanides. So Nachmanides says, other nations didn't owe us anything. Ammon and Moab owe us something. What is that? Where do Ammon and Moab come from? Let's go back. Where did it come from? So Abraham had a nephew, Lot, right? He had a nephew, Lot. So what happens is, when Sodom got destroyed, so there was Lot and his two daughters. The two daughters of Lot thought that's it, it's the end of the world. No other man exists. The only man in the world is only our father, because the whole city, 4 cities around, they got destroyed. So they got pregnant from their father. So 2 nations came from the 2 kids. Moab came from the oldest daughter, and Ammon came from the younger daughter. Now, why did Lot get saved? He was in city of Sodom. He wasn't much better than the people of Sodom. So the Gemara says that before God punishes somebody, he wants to see if people around him will get hurt from it too. Now, Abraham is a righteous guy. If his nephew is going to die, Abraham is going to be hurt. So for the merit of Abraham, Hashem saves Lot and his 2 daughters. Even his wife got saved, right? But God said, don't turn around and look at the punishment of the city. She couldn't hold herself back. She turned around, so she turned into a pillar of salt. But really, they got saved because of Abraham Avinu. So now let's go fast forward 400 years later, when the Jews coming out of Egypt, they should have showed their appreciation by bringing bread and water to the Jews. Other nations didn't exist for the sake of Abraham. Jews come from Abraham, so that showed the gratitude. We learn 2 things. Gratitude doesn't only go to the person that did you a favor. This is 400 years later. I'm almost finished. You see, my wife worries about you guys. You're hungry, you don't eat. She's like a Jewish mother. I'm the tough guy. I'm just kidding. So what happens is, you have to show gratitude even to the later generation. You get what I'm saying? Imagine, Rab Levi, by the way? Rab Levi passed away. He was the guy that came to Iran and he started Otzar Torah, all the Jewish education that was in Jewish schools. So now he has a son. Every time he comes to the Persian community, oh, your father did, and it's true, the father did such a great thing. He didn't do anything, but again, his father brought actually Torah to Iran at that time. So we show the gratitude even to the children. If a guy did me a favor, let's say now his son or his grandson are living, I have to be grateful even to the grandchildren because the grandfather did me a favor. So here, the children of Lot, which is Ammon and Moab, they had to show gratitude to the Jews. Because they didn't, they can't be Jewish. They can't marry a Jewish girl. So here the Ramban says that actually this is one of the traits. If somebody is always ungrateful to people, right, he doesn't want to be beholden to anybody. You do him a favor, he denies everybody's favors. Is the question if this guy is Jewish or not. So now let's go back, because we started with this whole thing that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go destroy Midian because he was raised there for a while, he got married there. How could he go destroy the nation? He sent somebody else to show his gratitude. So what we know from this class, number 1, how much gratitude we should have to our parents. Honestly, we have to have a lot of gratitude. They really worked hard to raise us. With all the mistakes that they made, I always tell everybody, you're upset at your parents because they made mistakes. I bet you're going to make many of the mistakes that they made when you become a parent yourself. And you're going to say, my gosh, how did our parents raise us? When I had my first child, we had our first child. Honestly, I said, how did my mom raise 6 kids in Iran? No washing machine, no dishwasher, no showers at home. I don't know if you guys know, there was like public showers. At the end, rich guys, the new built houses, they had showers in the house. You had no showers at home. There was no diapers in Iran. I'm talking about disposable. They had to go wash all the garbage, and then put it back on the kid again. How did they do it? I don't know. We have everything here. Just, diaper, throw it out, put a new one. You don't clean these garbages. So honestly, I said, wow, my mother is like I don't know, hero. I don't know how she did it. But we have everything today. So we have to show, our gratitude to our parents And by the way, there is a book that's called Pele Yoetz. Rabbi Eliezer Papo wrote that book, and it's translated into English. So he writes down that every Friday night, hopefully for the ones that the parents live here, even after you get married, make sure that you go to your parents' home and get a blessing from your parents. He writes it down. If they don't live here, thank God you have WhatsApp, you got whatever, FaceTime, and all these things. Give them a call. They should give you a blessing. And he says the blessings will work because, first of all, when you call them or you go to visit them, you're doing a mitzvah. So the merit of the mitzvah definitely helps that the blessing will work. Number two, he says, which other person, which people really did bless you from the bottom of their heart? Definitely your parents. As long as they're normal people, which mostly are, they definitely want all the good. They definitely want to bless you. So that's number one. We have to show our gratitude to our parents, and we're going to be finished very soon. We definitely have to show our gratitude to God. Because whatever we have is a blessing from God. Every moment that we live, every breath that we have, all the success that we have, the intelligence that we have, all the money that we make. Thank God we live in a house, we're not in the streets, like some people that are not, lucky enough, God forbid, whatever. They're not bad people, they just ended up being in the street. So we have all the blessings. We really have to show our gratitude to God, not just by first of all, thanking with our mouths. That's very important. Number two, we should try to do something, an action, all the kindnesses that God did for us. Thank you for listening, everybody. Sorry it took us a little bit longer, but we started late too. So